Dee Hock was the founder of Visa. The company holds a 39% market share of the global cards network. It processes over 255 billion transactions worldwide with an annual volume of around $14 trillion. In the United States, 75% of debit card holders hold Visa, while 50% of credit card holders hold Visa. This financial giant was created by Bank of America in 1958 as an experiment. No one anticipated that one day it will become so huge that even its annual volumes will surpass the GDP of advanced economies like the United Kingdom, Germany, and Japan combined. Want to know how Dee Hock created the Visa program and what his role was? Watch the full video. We at Business Chronicles tell the stories of extraordinarily successful people. Please subscribe to our channel to help us in making more videos. Dee Hock was born on March 21, 1929 in North Ogden, Utah. He was the last child of Alma and Cecil Hock. His father was a utility lineman while his mother was a homemaker. As a young boy, Dee was interested in biology and ecology. Growing up in rural Utah, he enjoyed nature and spent lots of time alone. Once he learned to read, Dee developed a passion for reading. He read about economics, history, science, philosophy, politics, and even poetry. He never confined himself to disciplinary boundaries, choosing to read on various subjects. In school, he was an active member of the debate club where he developed his oratory and persuasive skills. In 1947, he joined Weber State College in Ogden and graduated in 1949. After completing his education, Dee Hock began a career in banking. From 1949 to 1952, he worked as a branch manager at Pacific Finance in Ogden. He was later deployed to another Pacific Finance branch in Klamath Falls, Oregon. In 1953, Hock moved to Los Angeles, California to work as an assistant manager at the Public Relations and Advertising Department of Pacific Finance. He worked in that capacity until 1955. In 1955, Hock joined Columbia Investment Company in Los Angeles. He worked there as a general manager until 1962. In 1962, Hock moved to CIT Financial in Seattle, Washington, where he worked as the Northwest Regional Supervisor. He worked there until 1966. In 1966, Hock was appointed general manager of the Bank Card Department of National Bank of Commerce. He was brought in just in time to fix the chaos that was transpiring in the nascent American credit card industry. At the time of Hock's entry, National Bank of Commerce was among the very first 6 banks to receive a license from Bank of America to issue the Bank Card. Bank of America had initially launched the Bank Card credit card program in 1958 in California, but ran into headwinds including high delinquency rates and fraud. The company lost more than $8.8 million while launching Bank Card, but it later stabilized the program in the early 1960s. While Bank of America's credit card business had improved, the consumer experience with cards had not. Individual banks maintained proprietary control of their card networks, hence customers could only use them in participating merchant stores. This meant Americans had to walk around with multiple cards, which was very inconveniencing. In 1966, 5 banks in California came together to release one card called MasterCharge, the precursor to MasterCard. Bank of America responded by licensing its Bank Cards to banks across the country. It started with 6 banks, then ramped it up to over 100. The bank and its licensees sent millions of cards to customers across the country. But the new system, though backed by dozens of banks, was plagued by insufficient credit controls and poor transaction authorization systems. Losses racked up, bringing the system close to collapse. In 1968, Bank of America called a meeting of licensees to solve the problem. By the time Hock was joining National Bank of Commerce in 1966, he had become tired of working in traditional hierarchical companies. He had spent over 15 years managing banks and had had enough run-ins with a rules-based system that he wanted out. However, as he had a family to take care of, he decided to look for a new role where he could get by doing what didn't matter and then retire in place. Hock thought National Bank of Commerce would be the ideal place to retire in place. It turned out not to be. In fact, it became his stepping stone to an even bigger role. Hock attended the 1968 meeting of BankAmericard licensees. In the midst of the arguments and finger-pointing, he rose and, using his debate and persuasion skills, convinced the licensees to form a committee to look into the problems facing the licensing program. They agreed and made him chairman of that committee. The committee conducted a lengthy investigation before concluding that BankAmericard had to be separated from Bank of America. The committee presented its case to Bank of America and its licensees. Following these recommendations, in June 1970, Bank of America relinquished control of BankAmericard. The program would now operate as an independent entity run jointly by the card-issuing banks. The banks created and registered the National BankAmericard Inc. or NBI in Delaware in 1970. The new organization was tasked with managing the BankAmericard program in the United States. Hock had engineered the creation of a new organization. What had started out as a franchising system with Bank of America at the helm was now an alliance of banks. Hock had steered the system away from a top-down structure to a more distributed model. He was named President and CEO of NBI in 1970. Hock led a raft of reforms into the operating systems of BankAmericard, including democratizing card issuance. Banks could issue their own cards, but they had to include a magnetic stripe that contained users' information. This removed the need for customers to carry multiple cards from multiple banks. By 1972, NBI was profitable. In 1973, Hock's NBI introduced the world's first electronic transaction authorization system, enabling faster clearing and settlement of sales. Before that, merchants had to call a certain number to get approval for sales above a specific price. This process was tedious, lasting about 5 minutes. Electronic authorization was a game-changing innovation that greatly appealed to consumers. Just 3 years after launch, NBI was growing at a compounded rate of 50% annually and was highly profitable. In 1974, NBI launched an international bank card company to oversee the International BankAmericard program. In 1975, NBI launched a debit card. In 1976, NBI rebranded to Visa Inc., an international bank card company became Visa International. Hock continued to serve as CEO of both enterprises. He expanded Visa's customer base in the late 1970s and early 1980s, establishing a presence for the organization in new regions such as Latin America, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Hock's management style was unique. A critic of hierarchical systems, he saw himself as a leader, not manager. He did not see his role as lording over subordinates, but rather working jointly with them, as well as his peers and superiors, to move the organization forward. In one of his essays, Hock said a manager should spend 35% of his time managing himself. He opined that a manager should first be able to manage his character, integrity, ethics, temperament, and action before exercising authority. Afterward, he said a manager should focus 25% of his time on his superiors, 25% on his peers, associates, suppliers, and customers, and only 15% on his subordinates. Hock retired from Visa in 1984. He moved to a ranch and led a quiet, solitary life as a farmer. He, however, continued reading. In 1992, Hock reemerged from his retirement to work part-time as an advisor and speaker on matters of societal organization. He spoke before organizations such as the Santa Fe Institute in 1993 and in 1994, accepted a $135,000 grant from the Joyce Foundation to study and implement his theory on chaotic organizations, which balanced chaos and order. Dee had a deep respect for the individual self, and this led him to reject orthodox ideas of doing things. For example, he never liked the traditional top-down, hierarchical rule-following model that many organizations used. He opined that it made organizations rigid and incapable of creatively responding to emerging challenges and opportunities. He favored a flat democratic organizational structure, which created organizations that needed to balance chaos and order. Hock wrote his first book on the topic, Birth of the Chaotic Age, in 1999, and followed it up with One from Many, Visa and the Rise of the Chaotic Organization in 2005. He spent his remaining years spreading knowledge on his chaotic ideas. He died on July 16, 2022, aged 93 years. Dee Hock was not born rich. Once he graduated, he joined the banking industry where he rose through the ranks. Later, his luck changed when he was made in charge of the Bank Americard card program. He later lobbied that the program should be separate from Bank of America, and in this way, he was able to find the world's largest payment processing company. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this.